G'day. Today we're going to take a look at how to create subdomains and then sub-subdomains for a primary domain that you own. Now, there's a few things that you might have noticed I've got open. 4 tabs. One of them is literally just unstoppable domains, to give you an example of this is a subdomain that you can create. This one was to give you an example of the hacker.docos and docos.virtualjester. We've also got a contract and a guide. But before we do any of this, one thing that's really important to note here, only the owner of the domain name can create subdomains or sub-subdomains. The other really big thing here is you might have noticed we've got hacker.docos, but here we've just got docos. You cannot create hacker.docos if the subdomain docos doesn't exist. It just won't work. So if you want to create a sub-subdomain, you have to first create a subdomain. Now, I'll give you an example of this because the other day I had a bit of fun. I had a sub-subdomain as loves.virtualjester.x. Now, I was doing this as a little bit of a troll, and then I was putting people in. So if we said, for example, satan.loves.virtualjester.x, that would be not able to be created immediately. You first need to create loves.virtualjester.x. So hopefully that makes enough sense. Now, the other thing you might want to have handy is the primary wallet address that the actual domain name is in. You need the domain name to be in that wallet, otherwise you will not be able to create the subdomain for it. So we're just going to copy that wallet address, and then we're going to jump into the 2 links. The first one is the Unstoppable Domains guide on how to go through and create subdomains. This is really straightforward to follow. It gives you the exact things that you kind of need to click. If for any reason you need to come back to the guide, this step 4 section is the one that you will probably refer to quite often. So just bear that in mind. The other thing is the Polygonscan subdomain contract. So you can verify that the contract address here is the same as the one in the Unstoppable Domains guide. So it ends in C26 as it does here. Now, all of this being said, if you don't feel comfortable following along or creating your own subdomains, by all means don't. You are interacting with a blockchain and things outside of, my control. So the other thing is I would suggest go and learn as much of this stuff as you can. But we're going to keep this pretty straightforward because I've done this a bunch of times already. Now, when you're on the Polygonscan page, just come down and click. First thing, make sure you're on Write as Proxy under the Contract tab. Then come down and connect to Web3. I'm using MetaMask for this video. And that's it. So now we're connected with that wallet to Polygonscan. Then you want to scroll down to number 12, Issue with Records. And this is the part that's really good fun. So the first thing I like to go through and do is fill out these boring ones, which is just empty, and with reverse means you could actually have this as your primary domain. You could set that as your primary domain, which I don't want to do, so we set it as false. The keys and values, you can come back and actually have a read of these within here. It'll give you examples of what you can do in all of that. So it's not stuff we're going to play with in this video. For me, it's not needed. I just like them to go to the wallet address, and then anything you want to do with them, you can do from the Unstoppable Domains management section. Now, the to address is what we're just going to paste in. That was the wallet address that the domain name is in. And then this is the fun bit. So this is the subdomain. So we put in an empty square brackets. I'm going to put in double quotes and a comma, another set of double quotes and a comma, and one more set of double quotes. So the reason we do this is we want to create the subdomain. So we'll type in sub. Then we want to have the primary domain name, which would be that, and then the extension of the primary domain. So for me, it would be X, but we're also going to have virtualjester.x. Now the subdomain is something, so we've already got the sub-subdomain loves, which means we could straight away create, Santa Claus or Satan, whatever you want to pick there. But we're going to start with something a little bit more simple, such as hacker. So we'll create a subdomain called hacker. Now, if you've got all of this filled out exactly correct, just make sure there's no spaces or anything here, and the last quotation doesn't have a dot or anything after it. And these are commas, by the way. They come out as dots when you've got the subdomain, but they're commas in this section. Then we just basically click write. You will be prompted. I'm going to drag this off of screen. No, I don't even need to, because there's nothing that you can see here, which is handy, I don't think. This is where, if you started clicking stuff, just be careful with pop-ups when you're doing videos or screenshots, because this is stuff that you don't want people to steal, okay? This tells you the gas price. So one thing I didn't touch on is you do need a little bit of gas in your account, but as you can see, it's Matic, and you only need very, very little. Like, this is 1 cent. Not a big deal for me, but just be aware that each subdomain will cost you a little bit of Matic. So we're just going to go confirm. Then we can go view your transaction, which should open up a new tab. And then this one will say pending. It'll tell us how long it takes. But usually what happens here is by the time you create a few, it'll be done. So we'll just leave this one open. And then we come back to this page. And if you want to create a second subdomain, so this is where now we're going to have fun. And we're going to go back to the Sublime text. And we're going to create movies.hacker. Because who doesn't like a good hacker movie? So I always get a good habit there is just the double quotes and the comma first. That way everything's got an end. And we're going to put in movies. And now we're going to go write. Again, we get the contract pop up, and we're just going to go confirm. Now we could click view your transaction, but we're not going to, because you can see it's already gone through. And if you want to know how quickly they do go through, if we go to Opensea and we refresh the page, it should, this is Opensea, there we go, we've got 2 straight away. Now this is another question that comes up all the time. People are like, how do I get rid of this and show this? So we'll do this very quickly. You click on the domain, then you come up to the 3 dots, and you go refresh metadata. It'll say, it's queued, it'll come back in a second, so we're just going to go back. Sometimes it's really quick, sometimes this stuff takes a little while as well. In the same way that creating a subdomain, sometimes the network or the blockchain is busy, which means it can create a little bit of time delay. So do be patient if it's not happening as fast for you as it is for me. It will just depend on the time of day you do it, how busy the blockchains are, and what's pending in queue. And then we're just going to go back again. I can probably refresh the page now and these might be ready. Sometimes they do take a little minute. So we'll just see. Okay, not available yet. So we'll come back in a minute to this one. But in the meantime, we'll come back to the contract, and we'll also create the other ones that we wanted. So, for example, I had loves virtual jester, and what we will do is create clause. Now, I'm pretty sure Santa Claus is like with an E on the end of it. I'm not sure. And we'll go right. Yep, so I had loves. If I didn't have loves as the subdomain, it wouldn't have let me create clause. And we will go confirm. And again, we can view the transaction. We're not going to. And then we're also going to create a subdomain, or a sub. So again, we put in the double quotes and the comma, and then we're going to put in Santa. So Santa Claus loves virtualjester.x, and we're going to go right. This is what I mean. You can have so much fun with this. And again, these are costing you like a cent. So if you've got stuff that you want to do, I highly recommend this for it, because it's a lot of fun. These are your domain names. Do whatever you want to do with them. At the end of the day, it's what you want to do. So we've created Santa Claus. What we might do as well is just create. We'll get rid of the quotes there, and we will put in. I always like to do Satan because I think it's very funny. And then you could also have something like is a fan. So fan you need to create first, and then a fan, then is a fan, and then you could do Satan is a fan. That's sort of how it works. Just confirm the transaction. We can go view here, but what we're going to do is come back to Opensea, just refresh the page. If they still haven't loaded, I'll just hard refresh the page, which, there you go, they have. So these are the 2 that we refreshed a minute ago. So now we've got hacker.virtualjester.x. We've got movies.hacker.virtualjester.x. We've created these 2 as well. So we're just going to, sorry, I clicked on the 3 dots to refresh the metadata there. We'll refresh the metadata just very, very quickly, and I won't hold you up for too much longer. We'll come back and we'll refresh the metadata on this one as well. refresh metadata, and then we will come back to the page. What I will do very quickly is just create one more, so it gives us, or I'll create two more, docos and links on these ones. So we'll just come back and we will create, so this was hacker, and I wanted docos. And this, by the way, hacker is just a word for sort of computer culture. So there's a bit of a joke going on, or sort of, you know, a running gag in the Unstoppable Domains Discord. If you haven't joined that already, there's a whole bunch of us that are sharing all this sort of stuff all the time. So definitely would recommend, you know, jumping in. And what was the other one? Links. So links would be really cool stuff to do with computer technology, like how someone's managed to view audio through a window by looking at a paper bag. Really, really cool stuff. And that was years ago, by the way, so that'll be for that kind of content. And again, we could go view transaction, but we're going to go back to the Opensea profile, refresh this. Hopefully these will be loaded. Yep, they have. So there we go. This is a now subdomain. So we've got Santa is the sub, Claus is the sub, Loves is the sub, and Virtual Jester. And as I'm saying sub, I'm thinking Subway, eat fresh, like eat.fresh.subway. Just brain's going a little bit fun with this. But again, you could do whatever you want to do here. Now, if you want to manage these, it's the exact same way. So we've got Santa Claus, all right? So then we go into Unstoppable Domains. And now what I'm going to do is, we know we've already got the domain name there, so we're just going to type in Santa.claus.loves, and we'll see if that loads. There we go. So you'd click on manage, and this, by the way, is now how to set up a ud.me profile. We're going to go add avatar. We're going to pick upload avatar. I'm in the wrong folder, so we're going to pick this one, open. That's going to go there, and then we're going to put in Santa Claus. I could go through and add in all of this, but we won't for now. We'll just leave it. We're going to go confirm changes. It should load in a second. There we go. Something's happening. Just give it a second. Cool. And now, if you want to view this, so what we're actually going to do is, because this is so long, we're going to go copy. We're going to come up to a new tab. We'll just close these Santa ones. This is how I end up with billions of tabs. We're going to go ud.me/, and then you just paste that domain name, and that will take you to the ud.me page for that profile. This is how fast this stuff happens, man. And there we go. We've got Santa Claus loves virtual jester.x. How cool is this?